Hey, everybody, welcome into a brand new edition of the Computer America Show. We have a great show. Michael Miller, author, correspondent, is here with us for both hours. And yes, this is our last show of from 10 p.m. to midnight. Starting tomorrow, we're going to be at our new time slot, 3 to 5. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we begin 2 hours of Computer America coming straight at you. 10 seconds. Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
Okay, and welcome into a brand new week here at the show. Hopefully, you had a really good weekend. And before we get started, we should probably just get a couple of things out of the way. This also is the last Computer America show. No. The last Computer America show from 10
Way
p.m.
not to be an alarmist. I like that. I like that integrity.
Yes. Last Computer America show from 10 p.m. to midnight. That's right. We're moving to a brand new time slot starting tomorrow, September 1st. You'll be able to hear Computer America now from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. 3 to 5, Monday through Friday. I got to come up with a new jingle. I meant to do it over the weekend. I didn't. 3 to 5 for Computer Jive. I don't know. It was something.
We'll put our best people on it.
If it was 5 to 7, it would be Computer Heaven from 5 to 7. But you see, that's not right. I got to come up with something 3 to 5. But yes, starting tomorrow.
Wait, I know. 3 to 5. Oh God, why?
That doesn't rhyme.
5 and why? What? That's close enough.
5 and why? No, even with the most poetic license, it's a miss. But we're going to come up with something. But yes, starting from tomorrow, we're going to be on from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to hear us live, I know so many of you listen to us time shifted, but if you want to hear us live, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So I just want to get that out of the way and get that announcement up, and we're gonna start that. So anyhow, so that's happening. Let's see what else. Well, I should tell my story over the weekend. I finally did it, Ben. I upgraded to Yosemite.
Is that a big deal?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Windows 10 is a huge deal for us.
Yeah.
Apple seems to come out with a new operating system every year.
Yeah, but you see, I skipped it. I was still in Mountain Lion, and then I skipped Mavericks because it didn't work very well as far as and now I'm in Yosemite. And having backed up, everything seems to work except AIM doesn't work. The application. And
you shouldn't be using that anyways.
That's so old, that app. Well, no, because it's now on the website. I can actually open a web page for AIM, and I have that now. But anyhow, so that's what I did over the weekend. The transition was pretty smooth. There was a couple little hiccups, but it was pretty smooth.
I'm glad you did, because congratulations, you are still out of date. El Capitan is
not yet.
I think available.
No, it is not. El Capitan won't be available for another month or so. So that's still in beta. So I am now in the.
But you can download the beta, right?
No, I did not download. I don't deal with betas very well. Especially if I had a secondary system, yes, but my primary system, I'm not going to do it.
You're no fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking for, is fun on my computer. But yes.
Yeah, that's like all computers are for. That's the role society has made for computers. Yeah. Entertain me. What do you mean computers and fun?
Yes, but you see, not when you use your sole computer for work and it crashes because the operating system you put on isn't reliable. So I let it sit around for
That's not Apple beta.
about a year.
That's a Kickstarter beta. That's not an Apple beta.
Waited about a year, upgraded it, and it's a fine. Even then, there was a couple of hiccups, but it went fine. Other than that, and there's some idiosyncrasies, some changes, but that's always common with new operating systems. And we're going to be talking about new operating systems tonight. Michael Miller is here, our correspondent. He appears here on the last Monday of the month, and we're going to be talking about Windows 10. This is actually the first time he's on with us that Windows 10 is not in pre-release. The last time he missed it like about by 3 days when the last time he appeared here. So we're going to be talking about Windows 10 plus a couple of his new books. We'll get into that as well. And let's see. We had our show, our social media winner of the week on Friday. That all went smoothly. Let's see. Anything else?
I think that's about it.
That's about it. Well, let's bring our guest onto the show. I know he's waiting patiently in the wings. Michael Miller is the author of well over 150 books on technology, such as The Idiot's Guide to Google+, My Pinterest, Facebook for Grown-Ups. His two new books is my Google Chromebook in the 3rd edition and my Samsung Galaxy S6 for seniors. The man just writes books. It's amazing. He is one of our Computer America correspondents who appears here every month. Mike, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I am doing fine, Craig, and how are you this fine evening? It still is evening today,
yes,
right?
Yes, it still is evening. Yeah, it is. We're gonna
for the last time. It is evening for the last time.
Yes, we are deep. How it's been a long time too. We've been on 10 to midnight for a
longer than I've been here, so it has to be 20 years or so.
Yeah. Before that, we were on the afternoons. We were in weekend programming, but we've moved a few times. But this one was the longest duration, and moving 3 to 5 p.m. Starting tomorrow.
So you actually have to get up during the day now?
Yeah, well, you see, but it's going to work itself out because it's like jet lag. I'll probably the first night or so I won't be able to get to sleep, but then I'll be so tired in the morning. Then by the time I go to bed again, I'll be normalized. And that's
now, can you actually go out in the sunlight, or do you have some sort of fiery reaction to that?
I use a sunscreen.
We expect high amounts of radiation and sunburn the first couple weeks.
That's exactly true. But I'm going to use thick amounts of sunscreen to prevent anything bad from happening.
And just to clarify here, you can see your reflection in the mirror. Is that right?
Yes. Last I checked, I recognized myself. Yes, so that is still coherent. It still works. But yeah, it's going to be different because now, as my wife used to say, we're going to actually have our evenings back. We can actually go out to dinner. And we couldn't do it. We had, all the evenings we did, we had to save it for the weekend. But now we cannot go. And she doesn't like to go out for the weekends in the evenings because it's crowded. A lot of people.
You know what I hate about public places? The public.
Yeah, exactly. Awful. And she doesn't like the public. I mean, when you go to a restaurant, you don't want to wait a half an hour, 40 minutes before you get a table. You got during the weekday, you have a much better chance of getting seated, and just it's not as crowded. And so it will probably make a lot of sense. So we're getting our evenings back, and I think 3 to 5 is actually a good time.
Well, actually, and hopefully with this move, we make it more convenient for more people, because 10 to midnight is, not, to say the least for our guests, sometimes it's very problematic, and 10 to midnight for some of our listeners can be problematic because that's 10 to midnight is butting right up against the on the East Coast is butting right up against most people's bedtime. So hopefully 3 to 5, that puts us in the middle of the day or at the very end of your workday, and hopefully that is a more convenient time to catch us live.
Yeah, now, West Coast guys. So that's what, noon to 3
noon to 3
Pacific
right.
time.
Noon. No, 3 to 5, noon to 2. Yes.
Noon to 2. Yeah, noon to 2.
It didn't expand from 2 hours to 3 hours going.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not yet.
No, but you're right. Ben brings up a great point, is because I think more of our listeners will be able to listen to the show. Obviously you can listen to the show anytime you want to because it's time shifted. It's like DVRs. I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched a live TV show. Even the news, I DVR record and watch at my own convenient time. But still, if you want that that live element and you want to be able to pick up the phone and call us or speak to a guest, also guests are going to be much more available. because they can do the interview from their office now rather than their homes. We're going to try it. We're slotted in. I mean, we could always move back with the, but I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to be fine. I think 3 to 5 is going to be a great time for us, Eastern time, and for our listeners as well. But you never know. We'll see. We'll just see how it goes. In the meantime, if you have a comment or a question for myself, or Ben, or for Mike Miller, you give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. If you are radio shy, you don't want to go in the air, you can always, any page at computeramerica.com, in the upper right-hand corner, it'll say submit a question. Just click that, and you'll get your question. We'll get our question submission page. Just put your question in there, click the submit button, and Ben and I will instantly see your question, and we can ask it of our guest or just answer it in general. So that's the other way you can communicate. The other really cool thing is our live video stream. On any page at computeramerica.com, just click the show lounge. Just select it. It's right there in the menu bar on our website. And the show lounge will immediately activate our live video stream. Yes, we're a radio talk show, but we also now make our live video available. So you can see myself, you can see Ben, you can see our guests, you can see Mike, of course. And Ben also has the technology to display websites, videos, anything in the background, so he can also do that as well. And if you're watching a live video stream, you can see all of that and kind of interact with us. So those are the different ways you can interact with us and talk to us and just enjoy the show. Okay, so there you are. I want to get started tonight. Oh, I know there was one other thing. I did
another thing.
Yeah, I updated Parallels. That's the virtual which allows Mac users to run Windows.
Like Boot Camp, but better.
Right, exactly, 1,000% better, really, because you can run them concurrently. You can run them simultaneously. You can run them. There's a million ways you can run Windows and Mac OS 10. But when it was Parallels Desktop 10 is what I had, and I updated to Desktop 11, and guess what I couldn't do?
When you updated Parallels, you could not upgrade to Windows 10?
No, worse. I couldn't run Parallels. Parallels Desktop 11 requires Yosemite or later. So, and I still had Snow Leopard. I had Mountain Lion. Excuse me, I had Mountain Lion. And Mountain Lion, which was 10.8.5, wouldn't run. You need OS 10.9 or later. Okay. So actually,
Craig, you might want to consider getting on an upgrade schedule that doesn't hit you in the butt. To kind of like. If anyone ever played one of those side scrollers where like the left wall keeps moving at a constant rate and like the character has to stay in that thing, Craig's like the character that's just up against that left wall and it's just pushing him along, and I feel like that's how you upgrade it. It's as soon as something breaks to the point where you have to upgrade, you just stay still.
Anyway, I had to upgrade it because I couldn't run Parallels Desktop 11, so I took the weekend. So now I did that, and it's all working, and I got Parallels. It updated to 11. Installed it, everything, and I go to look, and guess what I don't have? Windows 10. My invitation to Windows 10 is out there, but I still haven't been invited for the free upgrade. But I understand that there's a website I can go to, so I think I'll go to that and not wait for the invitation to get my free copy of Windows 10. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about Windows 10 with Mike Miller, and now that it's official, and I know you've had it for quite some time, but now really, let's talk about it and tell us about what you like and what you don't like about Windows 10. Mike, why don't you start off?
Well, if you're seeing the reviews almost all the reviews kind of take the same tack. They say this is a great upgrade from Windows 7, that it's the natural upgrade from Windows 7. So if you can ignore the past 3 years of Windows use, this is a very natural upgrade. And I've said that all along from the beginning. I mean, that basically it pretty much ignores Windows 8. It takes all the Windows 8 stuff, the start screen, the charms bars, and all that stuff, and it removes them. I mean, it isn't like it just changed Windows 8. It pretty much stepped backwards from Windows 8 back to Windows 7, and then moved forward from there. And so if you're upgrading from Windows 7, which is what most people are going to be doing, it's a very natural upgrade. I mean, you do have a different interface. The GUI's a little bit different. You've got the start menu has changed somewhat, but you have a start menu that's been upgraded, and you have a desktop that's been upgraded. So it's a very natural upgrade. And we're hearing a lot of reports of people really liking it. So far, Microsoft has reported in what has essentially been a month of release, 75 million installs on it already. Now, that said, I'm like you, Craig. I've got my Windows 10 on my one machine, but I've got other machines I've been waiting for the upgrade on, and it's not giving it to me yet.
Really?
Yeah. So so everybody, when they say, "Oh, you sign up early and you'll get it," well, you'll get it when when they're ready to give it to you, essentially.
So I haven't been singled out then.
No, you haven't been singled out. I actually have install problems on one machine. I've got 3 machines in my office. One is my test machine that I've been running Windows 10 on for many, many months now. Another machine that I'm using right now to talk to you is I'm still waiting on the upgrade. And then the other machine, if you're watching on video, it's the one back behind me here. It did finally, after about 2.5 weeks, give me the Windows 10 upgrade. But it wouldn't install. I have install problems on that. Here's the thing I've noticed: if you do have install problems with Windows 10 or you're thinking of upgrading, you got to make sure your PC has every single weekly update done to it. Those Upgrade Tuesdays or Thursdays or whenever it is that you get the upgrade packs. Well, if you miss one, it's not going to install the upgrade to Windows 10. So you're going to have to go back and make sure that every single one is updated.
Okay. Well, most of on my Windows 7, I think I had 2. Mandatory, what they call them, mandatory or serious ones.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and updated Windows 7. So my Windows 7 is completely and currently upgraded.
So you should be okay. In fact, some people didn't even see that little update to Windows 10 icon, and the reason there is if you didn't have all your updates installed that it wouldn't do it. What I discovered is on this machine back here, which is kind of my home base machine, my hub, somehow or another I had inadvertently turned off the automatic updating. Probably about 1.5 years ago, I think. I mean, it had like 100 of them lined up in the queue to do. So, like, oh man, I don't know how I never noticed that.
And we wonder why they're forcing everyone to stay up to date with the new ones.
Well, with Windows 10, if you're running the home version, which most consumers are going to be doing, you're going to get the updates automatically whether you want them or not. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that's changed. I mean, currently with Windows 7, with Windows 8, you can choose when or how you get those updates. But with Windows 10, you're going to be updated. With a couple of caveats. And the first one is, and this was not the way it was a month ago, but they've changed it in the past month, is people were running into trouble that not only were you getting Windows updates through that service, but you were getting driver updates for your hardware and software, firmware anyway.
Yeah.
And not everybody wanted to get driver updates because driver updates can break things sometimes.
Right.
And there were some pretty big instances of some video drivers that were just broken and people didn't want to update them, but Microsoft kept forcing those updates on you. Well, now hidden in the bowels of Windows, there's a switch you can unswitch to not get the driver updates automatically. You'll still get the Windows updates, but not the driver updates.
And that's a great tip for our listeners. So let me make because drivers are those little tiny pieces of code that allow your computer to interface with its peripherals and the screen, the printer, the scanner, all those things that and they don't always necessarily, the ones that Microsoft pushed you aren't necessarily, I'm not going to say the right ones, but maybe not the latest ones.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get the latest ones direct from the manufacturer, from the hardware manufacturer,
right.
And Microsoft might be 1 or 2 behind. Yeah. And actually, smart users don't update drivers unless they really, really need to, because you don't want to break anything, as the case may be.
So located in the bowels of Windows 10, maybe.
It's in the settings. It's in the update settings. So in Windows 10, although you still have Control Panel, you've now got something that kind of replaces Control Panel called the Settings tool. So you just open up the Settings tool, you click Update and Backup and Update, Update and Backup, whatever it is, and in one of the options there on the left, you will find what you can switch on and off on the automatic updates.
and the drivers is one of them.
Yeah, that was actually one of the. We had a caller. His name was Lucas. He had a problem a couple weeks ago, concerning his networking card or his wireless card or some form of networking technology, and I believe the solution to that was actually that Windows had pushed an outdated driver to the network card, and as soon as he went to the manufacturer website, downloaded their driver, and got that all squared away, then it started working again. So it comes up. You think Windows is infallible with these updates? They're not.
Well, there was a fairly big one late in the testing stage on the Synaptics touchpad driver. A lot of folks use that on their laptops. That it basically made the touchpad not work. That as soon as you touched the touchpad at all, or even the keyboard, that it would totally shut down your system. And the solution to that is, one, you had to plug in a wireless mouse, so you didn't touch the touchpad, and roll back the driver. And it was that way for about a month during testing before they got that little bug fixed.
Jeez.
So that was a fairly well-known one.
Yeah. By the way, we as I said, we encourage people to send us questions either by calling us or by submitting a question. And we just got one of those, which is kind of interesting. So, and I'm kind of curious to hear what Mike says too. The question is basically from Jonathan here. It says, have any of you tried both the earbud, that's called the sealed style headphones, and the Apple EarPod, which is the unsealed style? Because I'm looking at a pair of headphones that are available in either option, but I've never used the EarPod style, so I'm not sure if I'll like them better than the earbud style. And I know, Ben, you've used both. I've used both. Mike, I don't know if you've used them before we comment. Any comment on that, or do you want to let Ben and I handle it?
I'll let you and Ben do it because I'm not familiar with the EarPods at all.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what I thought. I got the EarPods with my iPhone 5S, and basically they're
just to be completely clear, earbud is the one that ships with all the Apple products and things like that, and the EarPod is the one that come with the little rubber gaskets, right?
No, it's shaped differently. The earbud they're like a little flat with a metal cover. They look like a little screen over them, and then the EarPods they have like a little point toward you. They're both from Apple, but then the EarPod is the latest style from Apple. So and comes with the latest the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 5 and 5S.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Okay, thank you. So those are the differences.
It doesn't happen often.
Yeah. So he's asking which do you? I prefer the EarPod, which is the latest version, because I had a problem with the earbud. The earbud would keep falling out of my ear. I mean, that's just the way it is. I would tuck it in there.
Greg was doing that. He was training for a triathlon, and it kept falling out, and it was just all over the place.
I never liked the earbuds, and evidently Apple didn't like me because they came out with the alternative, which is the EarPod. It's a later generation of device. I think that it's improved. I think it's better, and I just like the EarPod. I think they stay in your ears better, and they're not blasting directly into your ears either. The way the shape of them, you get the sound slightly deflected, so they're not going directly into your ear canal. So my recommendation, Jonathan, would be to try the Apple EarPod. That's my recommendation. You've had them both too. What do you suggest, Ben?
See, I'm the opposite in that the earbud actually gave me a better sound quality because. Heck, they were kind of blasting straight into your ears. And if you're using them in crowded places, if you're using them on public transit, what have you, then it would block a lot of noise. And the new ones are pretty good at noise canceling too. The only problem is that they aren't as loud. So to me the quality kind of went down with the EarPod, but the earbud, sometimes they fell out. I really didn't have that problem. You really have to kind of shove them in there and then get duct tape and strap them over your ear. No. But they both work and they're both good. Either of these options come with a purchase of an iPhone, an iPod Touch. One of these things, they usually come standard when you purchase one of these. So I've never really been faced with this choice and having to go out and buy one. But if I had to buy one, I would probably go with the EarPod as well, the newer generation.
All right, so now you're probably thoroughly confused, Jonathan. So, but basically, Ben likes the earbuds.
No,
and
EarPod.
No, I like the earpod. You like the earbuds.
No, I like the EarPod.
The one with the point.
Okay, okay. Craig is clearly confused. The earbud provides a little bit better sound quality, in my opinion.
Yes.
But in terms of ergonomics and everything, I'd go with the EarPod.
Oh, then you agree
I
with
like
me.
the EarPod.
Okay, then you're agreeing with me. I like the earpod too.
Well,
Okay.
if you're really serious about it, you throw away all that junk and you buy a decent third-party solution that comes with, several different shapes of things, plugs, whatever, to plug into your ear canal there. And now you're talking more money. You're talking $50, $100, $200 earbuds in some cases from Shure and Jabra and other companies. But
That's it.
there you can really customize the feel and the fit by saying, oh, I don't like the round plug. I want the cone plug or whatever, because it works better for you.
Yeah,
Right.
You get a lot better sound quality with a lot of these third-party solutions. I mean, it's no surprise the ones they give you for free are not going to be, the best quality sound that you can get. You don't get, good quality for free. You got to go out and buy something better.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, hopefully that answers your question, Jonathan. All right. So getting back to Windows 10, so we were talking about the fact that you could turn off certain components of the update that was mandatory, and for example, drivers. You can say, don't update my drivers, and you can get something like Slim drivers from Slimware Utilities, something along those lines that do a really good job of making sure that you have the proper driver installed. The Slim drivers, that's its raison d'être. That's its reason for being. I mean, to make sure that you have the proper driver giving the proper equipment. So you can turn that off, which I did not know. So thanks to Mike Miller for.
Yeah, and that's a new thing. And here's the deal. I mean, it's been out a month now. They've released 4 weekly updates to it already, as well as, now here's the thing I find interesting, that to tell you that Windows is never finished, or is a work in progress, or is Windows as a service, whatever you want to call it, never done, whatever. Mm-hmm. If you're on the Insiders program, so if you were testing Windows before and you stay on the Insiders program, they've actually released 2 Insider builds since the official release of the software.
Really?
Yeah, and an Insider build is a complete reinstall. It isn't just you download it and 3 minutes later you're done. This is the thing that takes 2 or 3 hours to update your system. But they've released 2 Insider builds in the past month. And fixing bugs, of course. I mean, the bad thing is they don't always tell you what all these updates do. They just go, cumulative update. We've, great, cumulative for what? But with the Insider builds, one of them added color to the title bars on Windows. Believe it or not, out of the box, you just had a white title bar on all the windows in Windows 10. It stuck to their design theme, but it was very boring. Well, with the first update, they added color to the title bars. The second update, they're still working on the fit and finish. So all of the context menus, the right-click menus in Windows now, they are moving to the Windows 10 design, which is a little bit different font, a little bit bigger typeface on it than what we had previously. Out of the box, if you do the context menus, they kind of look like they did in Windows 7. Well, with the second Insider build change, they're now changing all of those designs on those elements. So, I mean, it's like, they're just going to keep working on it. It's never going to be done.
Wow. Okay.
So the Insider build has turned it into kind of so they're keeping the Insider build, and you can see on that any news if let's say, well, first of all, it's all free, so that kind of. I was about to ask, if you stay on the Insider build, do you have to pay ever? And probably not. But right. So they're going to use the Insider build as kind of like a public beta before they push it out to everyone else.
Right. Exactly. So if you're on the Insiders program, you're just. I mean, you don't have to update to each Insider build that comes out. Mm-hmm. You still do have that choice, but you're going to get the new features first. For better or for worse, as the case may be. Because, when they release one of these Insider builds, they also come out and say, oh, and by the way, Google Chrome crashes on this build. So, okay. Which it does. Or the one of the builds broke the hotspot feature that you couldn't connect to a hotspot, a mobile hotspot on that. So, you always take your chances when you're doing the Insider builds. But it just tells you that Microsoft is still working on it. They're still listening. In the case of turning off the driver updates, they're listening to consumer feedback to make changes like that. So what we see today and what Windows looks like 6 months from now is going to be subtly different.
Really?
All right.
Okay. I wonder about there have been a couple of features that have been sorely missing from Windows for as long as I know, and I'm wondering, since I have not had a lot of time to play with Windows 10, that you might know about a couple of these things and whether they can do it or is there a different way of doing it. But you know what? I just realized we're at the bottom of the hour, so we'll take a little break, okay? And then we'll continue on. Ben and I are talking to Mike Miller, author and Computer America correspondent. We've got a brand new, actually we got 2 news, tips, bulletin reviews from Rodney Winston, 1 in each hour. We're going to have that. And again, it's going to have a reference to our new time slot, so you can listen to that.
Gotta get ahead of that.
Yeah, I got to get ahead of that. And then we got some commercial messages, and we'll be back. So this is the Computer America Show. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Uh, Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Okay, so you're not hearing any of our automation. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange.
Yeah, it is very strange. I'm not sure why. I'm just checking here. Built-in output. It has that correct. Well, we'll have to figure it out. I know it's going on over the. I know it's going out of the Blog Talk Radio feed, but okay. In the meantime, welcome back to the Computer America Show. And why don't you take us 33 minutes after the hour? And
Yeah.
Michael. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go back to the Computer America Show. 13 minutes past the hour. Automation, a little spotty at the moment. But, yeah, author Michael Miller is here with us, and we're discussing right now Windows 10 because, you know, everyone else has had their chance, and it's not too far. It's only about a month since the release, and I have it too. I'm sure 75 million of you out there have it as well. And you know, real quick, Michael, just 75 million different people have downloaded it. Do you think that where do you think that number is going to top out, like in terms of market share? Do you think as many people as possible, like is Windows 7 and 8 pretty much going to drop off in the year's time that it's going to be free? Are they going to drop off to, like, you know, sub 3 to 2%?
Well, Windows 8 certainly is. People are that's the easy upgrade and the necessary one. Windows 7 users, it's a little bit tougher. They should upgrade, but now you're getting into the realm of, you got people with machines that are 6 or 7 years old running Windows 7, and at that point, do you really upgrade, or do you just, you know, write it out until the machine breaks and buy a new one?
Right.
So I think you're running into that factor. You know, Microsoft, their goal is to run, what's their goal? 1 billion copies of Windows 10 within 3 years, I think, is their goal. And boy, that's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, that's lofty.
Another analyst is out there, Net Applications. The analyst is saying that they're looking at 410 million within 18 months, which I suppose would get them almost not quite halfway there for a 3-year goal, I guess. But you know, they're both ambitious, and you know, here's what Microsoft has going for it: it's free, right?
Yeah,
so you know, so what's the harm? You know, let's break something during the upgrade, but that seems not to be happening. I mean, the main thing, my comment on the update is, I wished they would have waited a month or two and got all the fit and finish down. You know, some of these changes we're seeing in the new insider bills and just some of the bug fixes that are coming, they really picked an arbitrary date to ship it, and knowing that they were going to be fixing it the week after that, and 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 that's fine. But and that's fine for you and me and probably a lot of people listening to this show. But I'm not sure I want, you know, my Aunt Judy running it at this point in time. The operating system itself seems to be pretty stable, other than, you know, they're still changing the interface around on these things. What is not stable are some of the apps that come built with it. The Photos app is pretty buggy. The new Groove Music app is fairly buggy. So is the Video app. The People app is buggy.
You know, Cortana was actually bugged for me, and you know, it probably is still bugged for me for a while.
Yeah, and to me, one of the big things about the upgrade is the new Edge web browser, which I love, except I use it for about a day, and then I get done tearing my hair out, and I go back to using Chrome because it is not ready for prime time yet. They've got to work some bugs out of it and get some performance issues fixed, because it's just not cutting it. I mean, it's freezing my system. Now, and maybe I'm, you know, one person out of 75 million that's happening to, but it's happening to me, so I'm going to talk about it. But that's my big thing is, you know, they really concentrated on the core operating system, and I think it's relatively bug-free, other than they're still twiddling with the interface, okay? But all the apps running around it, they were not on the same update path as the main operating system. Not on the same development path at all. So some of these apps are missing features. I mean, even if Edge were working properly, it does not yet allow add-ins, plugins at all, which they say they're going to add, but it's not in there.
That needs to come fast.
One of the apps I'm trying to remember, is whether it's the Calendar app or the People app. No, one of these apps, you know, something very essential like adding new accounts, you can't do yet. That may be the Mail app that the new accounts doesn't work. I mean, we're talking some core stuff on here that just, you know, if they let it bake another month or so, that would have been fine. But they had a date they had to hit, or they wanted to hit, and they got it out there, and they've distributed 75 million copies. We can't say they've sold 75 million copies because they haven't taken in a penny yet. They're giving it away for free. But, you know, the core operating system itself, fine. But, you know, the other apps around it, some issues with it. And even if you upgrade now, be prepared for the operating system itself, the look and feel, and they're moving some things around in this settings panel to that settings panel sometimes. So it still feels like a something that's still in beta.
Wow.
Okay.
But that seems to be a problem with the software industry in general, and I guess with video games it annoys people, but eventually the bug gets worked out and it's fine. And with other other programs people buy it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I get that the outrage should definitely be higher for something as base as the operating system, because that's one thing you don't want them to say, oh, they're still working on that. Okay, that's not what you want to do every 10 minutes.
And you're right, Ben, that in this cloud-based world that we live in, where all the apps are cloud-based, and we're doing websites and whatnot, we're getting more and more used to this sort of amorphous solidarity of the builds and that sort of thing. But again, for people who are techies and who are comfortable with tech, fine, we're used to that. But for the little old lady down the street, you want it to be a little more stable for them.
Right.
Okay. Continue on, Mike.
Again, on Windows 10, so if you were to ask me, well, should I upgrade now? It's kind of a weird answer. It's like, well, there's no reason not to. It does work with the caveats that I explained. However, if you don't want to futz with it that much, and if you're a little less technical and you want it to be a little stable, you might want to wait a few months before you do it. Again, there's no harm in waiting, because you're going to get a free upgrade for the next 11 months or so. But if it were me, not a techie, and not wanting to deal with stuff changing on me all the time, I might let it settle down a little bit more.
That's what I like about this. It's one thing to offer a free upgrade, but it wasn't exactly it was obviously to some extent a promotion, but it's not like, the first week you get free Windows 10 and access to whatever the music service is. Like, it wasn't just a promotion, it was, hey, anytime in the next year, we want you to upgrade. It wasn't strictly a promotion, it was also, we want you on this new operating system. So up to a year, if you want to wait, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 months for all the bugs to get worked out, that's fine. You can do it. That 1 year, kind of leeway that they gave everyone, genius. That was one of the best things that they could have done to get people to upgrade.
And the rate some of these automatic updates are happening, it may take a year to get everybody.
What is up with that, by the way? Because I thought that whole going to do it in sections thing, I thought that was going to happen. Started July 28th, I believe was the release date. And I thought the first week you'd get 20%, second week 40%. Like, I thought they'd do it in big old chunks. But for you to not even be getting them a month later.
Well, I think they're running the upgrades on an old Windows XP machine over as well, and the bandwidth is limited. Now, according to the "Your free upgrade is on the way" message that you get if you've got this Get Windows 10 icon,
right,
says we're rolling out the upgrades in phases to manage high demand. We will notify you when it is downloaded so we can confirm. The notification to upgrade could come as soon as a few days or weeks.
Wow.
So interpret that as you will.
Well, for anyone out there, I believe, well, actually, I don't believe this is what I did. You don't have to wait in line. You can skip the line and go download it yourself. It's just, not many people know about that.
No, you can go direct to the Microsoft site and create an ISO on a USB drive or a DVD, whatever, and install it, the old-fashioned way instead of over the web, and kind of jump to the head of the line in those in that fashion. Again, I do want to warn you, though, that you better make sure that your machine has all of its weekly scheduled updates updated, or else even off of the installation media you will run into problems.
Okay, so what else do you like at this point?
Well, I like a lot of things about it. The Edge browser, once they get the performance issues fixed, is a wonderful browser. I really love. It has this new reading view, which once you use it, you're never going to go without it. When you click the reading view button, it takes all the ads and all the extraneous crap that's on most web pages and gets rid of them. So it's just like reading a book page almost. And
Sure.
it's great. And it also, when you're in reading view, it loads the page faster because guess what? It's not loading up all those ads and things.
Right.
So I love reading view. I love the integration of Cortana into Microsoft Edge so that you can do, context-sensitive searches from any web page right within the browser and the browser tab.
Real quick about that, are you finding yourself using the voice at all? Because I'm just kind of using the Cortana bar as a search bar.
No, I'm a normal human being. I don't talk to my computer. No, and Microsoft was smart. Cortana, you can operate, with touch or with keyboard or with voice. So however you want to, if you want to talk to your computer, you can. But, I don't have. I've got a fancy microphone now because I'm talking, on the radio. But on my normal computer, I don't have a microphone hooked up to it. So obviously I'm not going to talk to my desktop. It'd be like talking to myself. And when I'm using my notebook out there in Starbucks, how big of an idiot am I going to look like talking to my computer in the corner there? So no, I don't talk to my computer, but not like I talk to my phone. You talk to Siri on your phone or Google Now because it's a phone. You talk to it. It makes sense. But a computer, you don't. And so fine. So you use your keyboard and you type into it. Microsoft was smart to allow the multiple forms of input there. So if you want to talk to your phone and say, hey, Cortana, you can do that. If not, use that little thing with the letters and numbers on the keys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ben was the same way. He doesn't want to talk to Cortana.
No. I definitely and it's not some kind of paranoid tinfoil hat. They're collecting all my voice and they know what I'm thinking kind of deal. But just for using it as a search bar, but like a search bar with plus, because then you can ask it questions that your computer before with Windows 7 or Windows 8, I'm sure, it would just kind of say no results found, no matches found, blah, blah, blah. But here it will actually take you to the internet. So if you just want to type in, something that you would type into a Google search bar and you just want to do that from your computer, it will take care of you. Like it's not, it's kind of, it's a time saver in that sense because it's more rolled into a very common feature.
Yeah, Cortana, it's like Siri. You can say, how old is George Clooney, or how far is it to the moon, or, what color is up. Logical questions like that.
Yeah.
Or you can ask it, and it will give you discrete results, just like Siri would. You can say, what's the best pizza in Minneapolis, and it will go out to the web and search that. You could simply just search for, Microsoft Windows, and it'll, it might not even go out to the web. It'll search your computer for, apps or files that match your search also. So it doubles as an app search, a file search, a web search, and this kind of personal assistant thing, and it pretty much knows what you're asking when you ask it. The other thing that's smart about it is if you talk to it, and I'm not going to call it her, if you talk to it, she, and we're nice to our robot masters, but we don't have to give them pronouns, human pronouns. But if you talk to it, it will talk back to you with the response. If you type into it, it won't talk to your response back. It will just write it on screen. So it's smart enough to know whether you're talking or typing.
That is nice.
Yeah, we don't have the scenario where you're actually typing something, and then while you're typing something, you can say, "Hey, Cortana, look up such and such an information for me," while you continue to work on something else.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, we don't. That's not, at least today, that's not how most people use their computers.
Okay.
That may change, but it's a simple form factor. This is what Microsoft got wrong with Windows 8. It says everybody is going to use their computer. Everybody wants a tablet, so all the computers are going to turn to tablet. So we're going to give you an operating system that works just like a tablet, and we're going to force it on you whether you like it or not. That was what was wrong with Windows 8. With Windows 10, they're saying, you want to talk to it, fine, you can talk to it. You want to type. If you got a touch screen, you can tap it. They allow for different operating experiences on different devices, which Apple has all along. You give credit to Apple for not forcing the iOS on their desktop computers.
Well, again, this maintains my position, and that is, when you give the user a choice, then you can't lose. But when you force them to doing it your way, then you're going to have a problem because a lot of people will like it, and a lot of people won't. But give them a choice. Let them select which they want.
Except for the updates. Force those all the way.
Well, that does then create a little bit of a dilemma for guys like me who write books or do training about this stuff. Because if there are, 6 different ways to do something, do you explain all 6 different ways in the book?
You
And
probably should.
well, yes and no. If you're doing a big 1,200-page book, the ultimate reference to Windows, yeah, I'd tell them everything there is to know, or else I couldn't fill up the pages. You have to do it.
Mhm.
But for a book, let's say a book for seniors, I'm doing my Windows 10 computer for seniors. Am I going to tell the old people 6 different ways to, adjust the screen brightness? No, I'm going to tell them one way. Because they don't want 6 different ways. They just want the one way to do it. So if you're dealing with more casual users or lower level users, you don't tell them 6 different ways. You try and pick the best way for them to describe it to them. For more advanced users, then you start introducing the keyboard shortcuts or the this or the that and let the reader choose.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
fair.
That is fair. All right.
But it is, I know there are ways to do things in Windows that I might know 5 of them, but there's a 6th one that I haven't figured out yet. So even for the advanced users, there's always something hidden in there. So I don't know all the touch gestures. Which, by the way, if you were one of the 7 people who were using Windows 8 on a touch tablet before, they changed completely. The tablet interface is completely different from Windows 8 to Windows 10, and all the touch gestures changed also. So if you were used to swiping in from the left and then doing a figure 8 and twirling and then spitting or whatever it was to do a particular gesture, it's different now in Windows 10. So I don't know why they changed those things, but they did.
Yeah, the touch gestures for the Windows 8, they made some sense, but then there were others where you had to put your foot on it, ask your friend to come over, have his finger touch the top left corner. There were some that I feel like they were just trying to get the commands in, and they really didn't have a good interface to utilize half of them.
Well, my problem with touch gestures on any device, not just on computers, but also on phones and tablets, is there's no visual cue for them. It might be very, very convenient to swipe in from the top right corner to do something, but there's nothing that tells you to do that.
You'd think there'd be a nice little help
stumble
section.
over it. It's not discoverable, and that's whether it's on a computer. You have the same thing on the phone. How many people really know on an iPhone that if you pull in from the top that you get the alerts or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people have figured that out by now, but there was nothing there that told you to do that. There's, whereas if you're dealing with a menu-based system or a ribbon or a toolbar or whatnot, at least you've got visual cues to tell you to do things, and you're not going to discover all this stuff on your own. You have to have some sort of guide to it.
Right. This we're gonna go a little bit off topic, but we did receive a message over Facebook about a new product that's going to be coming. It was shown out at it's like the German version of CES. It's completely escaping me. German CES.
Big computer show. It's not Comdex. What do they call it?
Yeah.
I completely forgot. But it's called the Sensel Morph touchscreen, and I was wondering if you had a chance to look, to hear about this. Look at this.
I have not heard of it. No.
All right. Well, this is what they're hoping is the future of touchscreen or of touch devices, and it's kind of touchscreen has little sensors built in where if you touch it with a finger, blah blah, and it registers that. And just like you're mentioning, touch devices right now they can register up to 3 to 4 different points of touch at the same time. So 3 fingers, 4 fingers, 2 fingers, doesn't matter. You can do different things. Well, the Sensel Morph Touch will be a better version of what Apple called the Force Touch, which they're going to be bringing, which was started with the Apple Watch, and they're going to bring to other devices. But essentially, it will be able to show there are thousands of points all over the touchscreen, and it will actually be able to measure the amount of force you put into each touch. So I kind of bring this up because they're showing this off. They just showed this off, I think, this week, and if something like that comes along, that might be just the thing that Microsoft would kind of need, because at some point you're making yourself usable, with all these different gestures, is going to become unmanageable. But if you can start throwing in pressure-sensitive touching, that might clear up a lot of clutter.
Or it might make things even worse. I mean, I don't want to be a Luddite about this, but things that are invisible, such as various touch gestures, are difficult for people to discover. I mean, they're really difficult to learn. Now, once you learn them, they're great because you always know that you swipe here or whatnot. But you take a typical touch device, take a smartphone
Hmm.
and give it to somebody who's never used a smartphone before. And unless there's a button there that says on and back, they don't know what to do. They don't, these touch gestures that we've learned don't necessarily come naturally. So now if you add, not only do you swipe, but you have to swipe but with a certain pressure, or if you swipe with a different pressure, something different happens, you're increasing now that undiscoverable complexity within the interface. So, I mean, and also the more gestures you have, the harder it is to learn. This is a weird comparison, but Craig, if you remember back in the days of DOS and WordPerfect and 123, where you had to do everything with commands, right? There were no menus. You had to learn the commands or the prompts or whatever or to do anything. So you had to memorize. If your computer could do 100 things, you had to memorize 100 things. And I wonder if we're running into the same thing with touch commands. Oh, well, now we can do this, and we'll do this via touch also, and we do this. If we start adding too many things for people to remember, especially things that they don't use on a day-to-day basis, if we're essentially going back to a touch version of the old DOS commands in terms of making the operating system unintuitive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've met guys. I mean, it's introducing right now. We're looking at a our operation is two-dimensional. It's up, right, left, right, right, up, down, left, right. Now you're introducing a third dimension to control. Now that isn't necessarily a new thing. If you're using video games and you're using a game controller and stuff, you're kind of doing three-dimensional controlling anyway on some games, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
But on a computer, that's all of a sudden you're increasing complexity by what 50% by introducing the third dimension. So I don't know. I mean, how complex do we want it to be, or do we need it to be? I mean, what do you really need to do on the thing other than back, forward, and OK? That I can see. I mean, if you're drawing in Photoshop or whatnot, and you want to do a light erase versus a heavy erase, I mean, now you've got to, go through three different levels of controls to do that. If you could do that with touch, I could see that. And certainly, playing a piano or drum pads or whatnot on screen, having force be a part of that makes sense also. My fear is that they use it to, increase the complexity of the navigation, which is a completely different thing. But obviously, whether you're talking games, or video editing, photo editing, music, that sort of thing. There, I could see the use of the Force touch Force, whatever.
Top of the hour.
Well, to our Australia listeners, it is the bottom of the hour.
Well, actually, we don't have to do that, but I just want to let our listeners know who are watching on a live video stream is that our evidently our automation is not coming through, and there's no way for me to reset it other than quitting out of the browser and starting all over again, which I'm not going to do because that would just open up more complications. I think we need to do an audio check tomorrow or later on after the show, then, so we can figure out why the automation now is refusing to play, and then we'll get back to it. And we obviously want to have this all in place when we start. Yeah.
And by automation, you mean like all the music and stuff that plays when we're not talking?
Yeah, you're not hearing anything. For example, I'm hitting a car horn now, and you're
No,
not hearing that. No,
no, no.
and it's supposed to go. And something happened, something changed since we did last, since I updated the Yosemite. I think this is what must have happened because on Friday it was all working, right? Exactly.
Well, once again, it's Apple's fault for everything that goes wrong.
Exactly.
Can't blame Microsoft, I guess, huh?
No, well, the music's playing. I have checked it on Blog Talk Radio, and they are hearing the automation. It's only people who are watching the live video stream that are not hearing it. But we're going to take a quick break just for a few moments, and then we will continue. You listen to the Computer America Show. Mike Miller is our guest for both hours, and we will continue on with him. We'll talk about his books and finish up with Windows 10. Stay with us. We'll be right back. For you watching or live streaming, it's going to be a moment of silence. Yep. Uh-huh. Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman. And we continue on. Mike Miller, author of hundreds of books, and is here with us tonight. Here on the last show of this current time slot from 10 p.m. to midnight. Starting tomorrow on September the 1st, we'll be going from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's noon to 2 on the West Coast, and 1 to 3 on Mountain Time. No, Mountain Time, and we'll go Central Time and Pacific and Eastern Time. But yeah, 3 to 5 Eastern Time. It begins tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 3 to 5 in the morning. Yeah, but we can't please everybody all the time. But we're going to try the three. The network has asked us to try 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time because our primary audience is the United States, and because we are Computer America, keyword America there, Computer America. So that's what we're going to be doing. And yeah, that's true. Michael Miller continues on with us here, talking about finishing up about Windows 10. And Ben asked you this question, but before we go on to the next topic, you've been using Windows 10 now for the first time since we've had our show, and you were making some suggestions and things. Anything else, any topics on Windows 10 that you might want to discuss before we move on?
No, the main thing is if you've had to suffer through Windows 8, you want to be want to be the first ones to upgrade to Windows 10 because it just takes away all the stuff you hated and puts you back more in the comfort zone on the desktop with the start menu. If you're a Windows 7 user, it's a natural progression. It isn't necessarily a necessary progression. If Windows 7 is working fine for you, you've got an older machine, You're running some purpose-built apps, whatever. Upgrade if you want to. Don't if you don't want to. Yeah, the interface is nicer once they get the bugs worked out. The browser's better. Cortana's nice. But as with everything, if everything's working right for you now, you don't have to upgrade. Windows 8, I think, is a different thing because nothing works right in Windows. Everybody hates it, and unless you're using Windows 8 on a tablet, then you might want to stick with it because Windows 10 isn't as good on a tablet as Windows 8 is. But for Windows 8 users, no-brainer to upgrade. Windows 7 users, it is an easy upgrade. It's a natural upgrade. It will feel very comfortable and familiar to you. But as with all upgrades like that, you don't have to upgrade if you don't want to. But remember, again, it is free also.
That's very true. Now, and I also understand that if you don't have to wait for the invite, that you can actually go to a website.
Yeah, you can go to the Microsoft site. Just search the site. It's probably right on the home page now. The upgrade to Windows 10, and you can download the ISO file so that you can burn it on a DVD or copy it to a USB drive and upgrade that way. And it's a fairly easy upgrade. Otherwise, if you wait for them to feed you the upgrade, it's all done over the internet, from the cloud, which is fairly painless. It works, with the exception of one machine I have, it works pretty well.
How long did it take you to download over the internet the Windows 10?
The whole upgrade process was about 2 to 3 hours. That's the downloading and the upgrading and the copying the files and all that rot. So it's not bad.
Not bad. All right. Well, there you go. So just be patient, as I will be patient.
Yeah, and if you're not patient, go to the website and get the ISO and do it that way.
My understanding, Ben, is you went for the ISO, right? You didn't wait for the invite. Okay.
And how do you like Windows 10 so far? Yeah, and what all that means, and your feedback and the other feedback we're getting from other reviewers and users, is that the new Windows team that came on board to do Windows 10, they apparently did their job right, and good for them. You can't always say that about Microsoft. In fact, you can seldom say that about Microsoft. So you got to give them some credit where credit is due. They did the right thing this time.
There you go. Well, then let's So but everybody's happy. Everybody's a thumbs up, and we're going to continue to watch it and grow. And as I said, I'm going to eventually get my copy of. I'm not going to go for the where I go to the website and do it myself manually. I'm just going to wait for the invite and then let it do it over the internet. I think, and eventually we'll do it that way. Let's talk about. You have two new books out, which is my Google Chromebook, third edition, and then my Samsung Galaxy S6 for seniors. Um, Now, do you want to talk a little bit about Chromebooks?
Yeah. So we were talking about how great Windows 10 is. Well, screw that, and go out and buy yourself a Chromebook instead, and you don't have to deal with Windows at all. So yeah, I'm totally agnostic on this stuff right now. I don't care. Whatever works for you. Chromebooks. This is actually the third edition of this book that I've written about Chromebooks. The first edition was a tough one because that's when the Chrome operating system was really horrible. It really wasn't an operating system; it was just a browser that they called an operating system, and they were expensive too. But the Chromebooks these days are some of the hottest things going. If you go up to Amazon and you look at the best-selling computers, it's like half of them are Chromebooks. And there was a news report this week that in the education market, Google has finally surpassed Apple in the education market. That more and more schools, especially middle schools and high schools, not so much elementary schools, but especially the older kids, they're switching from iPads to Chromebooks because you can do. No, the numbers I'm seeing are schools purchase. So like my stepson who's in college using a Chromebook, that he wouldn't be in that number. But they're popular among college students too. But the main thing is for schools. I mean, a Chromebook at $200 or less, or even a fancy one at $250, costs less than an iPad does. And if the iPad is your alternative, which it really is in education. In addition, the cost of maintaining them and managing them is far, far less than what you have on an iPad. So for the schools, money-wise, it's a win-win-win. It's easier to manage, and they don't need as many of them because an iPad is always tied to a single user account. So you come in first grade and you get assigned your iPad, and that's your iPad. You can't give it to the guy next to you to use. The kid next to you. There's no guys in first grade; they're all kids. Whereas the Chromebook, it's all account-based. So, the first hour class can use them, sign out. The second hour class can come in and use the same machines. They don't have to have their own machines devoted to individual students and just sign in with their individual accounts and get their own collection of apps and whatnot right on the Chromebook screen. So education market loves them, and we're seeing it in the numbers. They're selling now more Google Chromebooks in education than Apple is selling iPads. I bet Apple feels really good about that.
By the way, we just got another question or comment here from a listener. I'm going to go on, and I'm just going to put it out there because I know he's listening. He says that he's now stopped hearing Ben on Hangouts, so he's switching to Blog Talk AI. But as far as I can tell, Ben's audio is coming through. So if you can hear Ben, yeah, I can. Yeah. So Jonathan, if you can hear Ben on Hangouts, I appreciate giving us another shout out on that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on. Continue on.
Well, the Chromebooks, for people who are not familiar with Chromebooks, and I was going to say they're like little netbooks, except they come in a variety of sizes now. You can get them anywhere from the 11.5-inch screen all the way up to big old 15.5-inch screens now in Chromebooks. So you can get any size you want. They do not have hard drives. They use solid-state drives, like what Ben's familiar with. They don't have CDs or DVDs on them, so they're relatively compact that way. They're thin, they're light, they have very long battery life, and they don't run Windows or Mac OS. They run the Chrome OS, Google's Chrome OS, which looks a lot like Windows now. It's got a taskbar on it and docking the apps and a start menu and that sort of thing. And because they do not run Windows, it helps to lower the cost somewhat because they don't have to pay Microsoft anything. But more important, it just runs faster. Windows 10 is not quite the 10th version of Windows. I'm not sure what version it is. It depends on how you count. But, they've got to support all this legacy stuff in Windows, which a Chromebook doesn't have to. Right. Well, here's the deal with a Chromebook. You need to be connected to the internet to use it. It's a cloud-based operating system. There's some stuff you can do if you're not connected, but not a whole lot, because you're depending on the cloud to upgrade the operating system. You're depending on the cloud for storage. You're depending on the cloud for all your apps. That said, that isn't a whole lot different from the way we use a Windows PC. If you use your Windows PC to use Gmail and to check in on Facebook and Twitter and that sort of thing, well, all that's cloud-based, web-based stuff. So you're not using your computer for that. These days, we don't do all of our photo storage on our PCs. We're using Google Photos or whatever it is out there on the web to store our photos. Same thing with video. Same thing with music. Nobody stores music on their PCs anymore. We're getting it off of Spotify and Pandora. So even if on a regular computer, we're using less local storage today than we used to. The Chromebook just takes it to the next logical conclusion that we don't store anything locally. Everything is out there on the cloud. So if you're not connected to the internet, then your Chromebook is practically worthless.
It's toast. Exactly. But
yeah. Or if you've got a problematic Wi-Fi connection, I will tell you a story. My Chromebook that I use, one coffee shop I go to, not a chain coffee shop, a local one. I can connect my Windows computer just fine. I can connect my smartphone. I can connect my iPad. But my Chromebook has some sort of conflict with their router, and I can't connect my Chromebook to their Wi-Fi hotspot. Now, I can set up a mobile hotspot with my phone and use it that way, which is what I do. But, again, it just shows, wait a minute, I can't do anything with this thing if I can't connect to a hotspot. So that is the primary drawback to a Chromebook. Also, you've got cultural differences. I mean, if you're in a corporation and the IT department says we use Windows machines and we use Office 95 and we use well, you're not using those things on a Chromebook. So you may have some cultural issues in terms of file compatibility, as it were. But let's face it, a Chromebook can use Google Docs online and spreadsheets and slides. It can connect to Office online and do all your Office work that way. I mean, just because it's a Google thing doesn't mean it can't play with the Microsoft apps. So, practically, if you can do it online, which these days you can from the cloud, the Chromebook's just fine. Now, you were talking about price. Certainly, at least at some point in time, the price was a factor for some users. We can get Chromebooks these days. I'm looking at Amazon here. The lowest price one I see here listed is a Point 2. Boy, that's a brand I've never heard of, for $149. As far as name brands, I've got Acers for $169. $169 for Asus. However, they also have Chromebooks now for $250, $299, $325 as you get up into the 15-inch models. So a Chromebook isn't necessarily cheaper than a Windows PC. I was looking at Best Buy the other day at Windows notebooks, and they've got Windows notebooks now for as low as $230 or so, with real hard drives and stuff. Yeah, so it isn't necessarily, I'm going to buy the Chromebook because it's cheaper. A $150 one is a little bit cheaper, but that isn't necessarily the case, and it isn't necessarily the $150 ones that are selling the best either. It's the name brands, the Toshibas and the HPs and the Acers are selling pretty well because they're a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more rugged, and so it isn't just the price that's driving it. It's the convenience, it's the form factor, it's the not having to deal with Windows. You get longer battery life. It boots up faster. I mean, there's a lot of concrete reasons to go with a Chromebook.
And of course they're extremely affordable.
Yes, as low as one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My stepson, who's in his second senior year of college now, I'm not going to say his final senior year, it's just his second senior year. He's got a hand-me-down Chromebook from me, so it's probably about 3 years old now, and he just loves it. In fact, and here's the nice thing about the Chromebook is that all of your settings, all your apps, everything follow you around. They don't follow the device around. So when he comes home for the weekend or whatnot, he grabs my Chromebook, logs in under his Google account, and has all of his apps and screen settings and backgrounds and whatnot all there looking him in the face. So, I mean, that's kind of nice. I mean, we don't have that on any other device right now. It also is nice for corporations from a security standpoint. If somebody steals your Chromebook or you just lose it, whatnot, you don't lose it. I mean, you lose a piece of hardware. That's all you lose. You're not losing files. You're not losing anything secure because there's nothing there. There's nothing on the machine itself. So somebody who gets access to your Chromebook, they don't get your files or anything because they're up there on your Google account up there in the cloud. So it's a more secure device in that aspect. Also, I'm not sure there's ever been any viruses out there on the Chrome OS either, so I don't think anybody's aiming for it at this point in time. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
And did I say they're cheap?
Some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Yeah,
Again, I'm looking at Amazon right now, and okay, here's one right here. It's a 15-inch Acer for $325.
Well, what was it? The one with HP was like $1,000 something. It was the Pixel. Yeah, the Pixel. Yeah, that was a Chromebook.
Yeah, that one, the Pixel's always been kind of a proof of concept. This is a tricked out hot rod Chromebook. That. And two of them were to people who didn't work at Google too. So that's a proof of concept. But in terms of the real stuff, you got HPs, we've got Acers, we've got Toshibas, we've got Dell who's in it, we've got Lenovo. I mean, they even have, Asus has a flip Chromebook. Flip it one way, it's a tablet. Flip it another way, it's a computer with a touch screen. $249, so a 10-inch screen on that one. So the big guys are in it, and the no-name guys from China are in it. And why are they all in it? 3 years ago it was just pretty much Samsung. Why is everybody in it? Because they're selling. And I'm going to guess, because they don't have to pay that licensing fee to Microsoft, they maybe make a little bit more money on each one than on a comparable Windows device. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure.
So now your book is all about what we're talking about tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it covers the hardware aspects of which, when I wrote the first edition, I only had to write about one model of Chromebook, but now there's a lot to write about and a lot to cover. But also just using the Chrome operating system, because how do we just take the tack of all the stuff that you're used to doing on a computer. How do you do it on a Chromebook? So if it's doing office work, well, okay, let's get out there and talk about Google Docs. Let's talk about Office Online. If it's listening to music, let's talk about Google Play and Pandora and Spotify. How do we do Netflix on this for video?
Yeah.
How do we manage our files and transfer them back and forth with Google Drive and that sort of thing? So, I mean, it's a typical operating system, basic computer type book, but focusing on the Chromebooks and the Chrome operating system.
And the book is out now? Is the book out now?
Yeah, it came out about 3 weeks ago, I think, right after we were on the air last time, 2-3 weeks ago.
And how is it doing? I mean, how well is it doing?
This book has been a surprise. I mean, we wouldn't be doing a third edition if it wasn't such a good seller. I remember when we did the first edition, I really had to talk the publisher into it. I almost had to, put their arm behind their back and say, no, this is going to be a big thing. We need to do a book. And it did well. In the second edition, they actually had Barnes & Noble come to them and say, we want a new edition and we want to put it on an end cap. When can you have it for us? So we knew something had happened there.
Wow, that's
We've got
nice.
the same thing happening now. We got the big retailers are all behind it, and we moved quite a few units of this little puppy.
Okay, so that's nice. Yeah, getting to be on an end cap, just for those who might be familiar, that's like a special display on the side of the bookcase, really.
Yeah, and well, basically what it means is instead of having one copy of the book spying out hidden in the corner of the store someplace, that they actually buy a whole lot of them, 20 or 30 or 40 copies per store, and they put them on the end of the aisle where people can actually see them as opposed to stumble over them in the dark. And we sell a lot more.
Yeah, it does. Getting an end cap actually is a nice validation for you. I mean, it's like when the supermarkets, they put all this, the cool things. You'll see them like the end of the aisles, and it's the same thing with bookstores.
You go to the grocery store just on Saturdays to get all the free demos, right?
So do you know? Have you seen this person, or do you know who this person is exactly?
Cut it right off of the milk carton, right on there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot, and again, it's really big in the education market now, but it's becoming even bigger in corporations as far as end users. I mean, just walk into your normal big box Best Buy type store, and you'll see them. The Chromebooks are all over the place now, and they're selling well. So so if you don't like Windows 10, go buy a Chromebook. I don't care. I got books in either camp. So just don't buy a Mac, because I haven't written any Mac books.
Yeah. Okay.
But there is a lot, again, as with any PC, as with any operating system, there's no operating manual to this sort of thing. So you get your Chromebook and say, well, how exactly do I transfer files from this to that? I mean, it isn't necessarily intuitive. So a book like mine can help you get more out of the operating system. That's why we do it.
Okay. So, all right. So the book is out. It's in its 3rd edition. It's been on the end cap. This is really, really cool. Now, the other book that you have is my Samsung Galaxy S6 for seniors. Hold it up again so we can see it. Hold it up. There it is for seniors.
Our radio audience, I am holding up a book right now. Yeah. Read carefully.
Yes, but for those... Yes, exactly. But for those of you who are watching our live video stream, you can see that. The Galaxy S6, that is... now, that's not the phone. That's the it's a phone. But yeah. Is that the one that they also made the Edge on that version?
Yes, matter of fact, the one I am holding up right now for our radio audience to listen to is the Galaxy Edge. Yeah, the S6 comes in a couple different flavors. The normal S6, which does not have an edge, and the Edge, which does have an edge. Basically, the Edge is a little curved part of the screen, which is practically useless, but it really looks cool.
Let's see.
It only costs $100 or so more.
Hold it up so we can see it. Show it, or there it is.
The Edge is there. I don't know.
There's the Edge. Okay, and the idea is that if you put it on the table screen down, you can still see the clock and you can still see things.
Well, kind of if you have magnifying glasses on. The Edge, I mean, honest to God, it's about a half of an inch tall, maybe. Mm-hmm. So which is ironic. I'm writing this book for seniors, and I'm getting it too, and I can't see the damn thing, without glasses on, and so I'm not sure seniors are going to be using the Edge. How much time we have? We've got about 3 minutes. Yeah. What does the Edge do, if you're interested? If you can assign to 3 of your favorite contacts different colors. So if a message or a phone call or something comes in from that person, the Edge will light up in that color. Woo.
Oh, that's cool.
The second thing is you can swipe it and have it display like tickers, a news ticker, stock ticker, that sort of thing. Which, again, the letters are only about a half-inch tall, so keep that in mind. And the third thing is nighttime, you can have it display the time and date dimmed back as kind of a night light sort of thing. Again, about a half-inch tall at night on your end table. So for practical purposes, I think the Edge is useless, but it does really look cool and it feels good in your hand. I mean, form factor, it is kind of cool to have the Edge there. So.
So the only information you can see print though on the side of it.
You can, if you have very good glasses or Superman type vision, you can see the edge.
And you have control over what's being displayed on that, or is it strictly a clock, or can you?
For the night light, it's just clock. For the ticker, there are several tickers you can choose from. Yahoo News or a stock ticker that you can customize, or sports scores, the typical stuff you might expect.
And which you can see on the edge, which you can read on the edge.
Well, again is an operative word. It is displayed on the edge.
Yeah. It's like
some people might be able to see it, others might not.
The Allied Chemical Tower. In other words, it scrolls from left to right type of thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also the color you can affect.
Yeah, the color, and I'm not sure how useful it is. At least you can see it. So it lights up red. I know that Craig's calling. Let's say if you were one of my favorite contacts, which you're not, but if you were, let's just pretend that you would show up as a color on the screen when you called me.
Okay. Or emergency calls. You can have, emergency calls from home or something.
So they try and get as much use out of it as they can. It's just limited by the size of the thing. I mean, the screen itself is a big, 5-inch screen on the Samsung Galaxy. And it's a nice screen, and the edge, adds a little bit of functionality. But it really does feel cool. I mean, it's a nice design for the thing.
So you would recommend the edge then? Okay, you would.
No. All right. But unless you want to spend an extra $100 because it looks cool. I mean, that's where I would recommend.
All right, you can't hear it, but the music's playing, so we're at the bottom of the hour, and then we'll figure this out. I think I know what the problem is, but I can't quit the browser to start all over again, so we're just going to have to go through this. You're listening to the Computer America Show? We have a news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston. If you're listening to the audio portion of Blog Talk Radio, you'll hear it. If not, just hang in there for about 2 minutes. Yeah, I will. Uh-huh. And Go. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself, Mike.
You know, I clicked the button once and I apparently missed. No, why would you for seniors books in general? I've done quite a few books in the for seniors line now, and basically because they buy books and uh, and they buy enough of them, and older users tend to want to know slightly different things than regular users do, and they want the information presented in a slightly different way. So, I mean, you know, a regular person, God, forgive me, a younger person could read this book and get everything they need out of it. You know, it's not like you have to be over 55 to buy this book and read it. No, it isn't that at all. But there is specific content and specific presentation that older users like. In addition, the form factor of the book is different. I've got to click here so I know what I'm doing here. I'm holding up two different books, my Chromebook, which is in the My series, and then my Samsung Galaxy, which is in the My for Seniors series. And the first thing you see is that the Seniors book is bigger.
Ah, yes,
it has bigger pages, and therefore on each page there are bigger figures and larger type. So if you're a little older and you wear reading glasses or whatnot, My Seniors book is a much more readable form factor also. So, but we've done quite a few My Seniors book. I've got my Windows 10 computer for seniors coming out any day now. The Samsung Galaxy SX for seniors. I've done my Facebook for seniors, my eBay for seniors. I have my social media for seniors coming out in about a month, and I'm getting ready tomorrow to start writing my internet for seniors. And so it's a pretty big market for us. And all the books now in this series are endorsed by the AARP, which is nice. We get a lot of promotion from them on it also. Yeah, they have a special model just for seniors. No, well, it is a hot. You know, we wouldn't be doing the book if it wasn't a hot book for seniors. I mean, Q does a regular Samsung Galaxy S6 books. I do the seniors book for them also, and you know, obviously, a lot of older users like iPads or iPhones. I mean, and that's always been big. But a lot of them have, over the past year or two have been gravitating to Samsung also, and I understand why. I switched from the iPhone to Samsung about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm not looking back. I like the Android world, and a lot of people do.
You're never going back to an iPhone, huh?
Oh, never say never, but I kind of like getting outside of the Apple ecosystem. You know, it's just like... It, Yeah, but you know, you just feel like you got to wear their uniform, and you have to wear their shoes, and you have to walk this way, and you got to comb your hair this way, and you have to brush your teeth with this toothpaste, and that's that. But it all works well together. We're the Apple world, la di da, and sing the song. And the Apple feels that way. It's like, I want to break loose of this. And now the advantage of Apple is everything works well together out of the box. You don't have to customize anything. You don't have to make any choices. You don't have to do anything. It just your phone works with your iPad, which works with your Apple TV, which works with your smartwatch for the 3 people who have that, and you know, it all works together so well. In the Android world, it's a little messier, and I like messy myself. I like saying, hey, I got 6 different music players I can choose from. Which one do I want? And that sort of thing. So, and I can customize this, I can customize that, which I can't do on the iPhone. And it'll play WMA music files, which the iPhone won't. So, you know, there are lots of things I like about the Android world. Primarily, I mean, it gets you outside of that ecosystem. Takes you out in the real world. You got to make some choices on your own. But I like that. I like having it mine as opposed to Apple's.
Well, okay.
That said, I still use an iPad, and we still have iPhones in the family. I mean, you can't get away from them. But personally, I really do like the choice to Android.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. Um, uh, but anyhow, we got another question for you, but it requires a link, and I don't know if I can get the link to you. He wants to know. There's a new. Okay, we'll send you the link and we'll do that. Okay. uh, uh,
Is that
so,
like Captain Marvel in the pantry with the knife or something? Is that kind of thing?
yeah, you're thinking of Clue. Yeah, exactly. Um, so they've got a Windroid. It looks like a Windroid computer. It's the Dragon Fly Future Fawn. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm sending the link in AIM, so now you have the link there, so you can put that up, Ben. And there it is.
And why would someone do this? So, is that a phone or a computer? That's yeah, weird.
They're showing, I think, yeah, it's
Well, I have to ask the question because in the Windows world, it's very interesting. You get out among the Windows testers and the preview users, and there's seems like it's really weird if you just read the blog posts and the forum posts and whatnot from these guys, and they're almost all guys, mind you. You would get the impression that Windows Mobile, what they're now calling Windows Phone, Windows Mobile, is just as important as Windows for the desktop. Because on one breath it's, oh, we got the new preview build of Windows 10, and by the way, there's a new preview build for the Windows Phone coming out too. And frankly, I've only met one person in my life who uses Windows Phone, and that's my sister, and I don't talk to her anymore. So,
you
not
forgot.
because of that, mind you, but although that might be a good enough reason.
Mm.
Does anybody use Windows Phone? I mean, I've seen the market share numbers, and it's hard to get any lower than that. I mean, BlackBerry's trying, but I mean, how important is Windows Phone these days?
Or swears at it. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why she got because we've got iPhones, and we said get yourself a
Everybody knows one person who runs it. Yeah. Well, Microsoft, for all intents and purposes, came out within the past month, pretty much saying we're not going to be selling phones anymore. You know, I mean, not in so many words and not today, but they laid off a ton of staff from Nokia, and I mean, certainly on the hardware side, it doesn't look like it's in their future anymore. By the way, another news item: Amazon's getting out of the phone business too. You didn't even know they were in the phone business, did you? Well, there you go.
yeah.
I mean, it's an Android world and it's an Apple world in terms of phones. Is the way it looks like to me when you look at the numbers. So you look at something like a Windroid phone, you got to ask why.
Hmm. Maybe just to see if they could do it.
Oh, well, in terms of why Microsoft did it, you're exactly right. They got scared, not just because of phones, but more because of tablets. I mean, that's why Windows 8 came about, is because they were afraid that the world was going to go all tablets and they would be
Well,
left, selling buggy whips and stuff.
well, maybe
Obviously, that didn't happen, and it isn't happening, but I mean, that's what drove them into it for certain.
you think they would have learned a lesson with the Zune,
Well, they're doing it again. What I read just within the past week ago or so. The old Sony computers. What were they called?
Well, Bio,
Yeah,
Bio.
yes. Microsoft is going to be selling Via computers now. Apparently, I think it was a Korean company bought the brand from Sony a while back, and maybe it's a Chinese company, but they've been selling them overseas. So Microsoft's going to take them and sell them back in the U.S. So Microsoft's getting more into the hardware business in a strange way. At this point, in computers, I hate to say it because we're on a computer show, it's in the name of your show and everything, but computers are like the hardware anyway. They're like toasters. I mean, but back in the old days, I mean, there were real differences between machines. I mean, whether you got this HP or this IBM or whatever, or you built your own. There was a lot of building your own, and there was Gateway, and there were all these manufacturers there. I mean, there were some very discrete differences between these guys. And these days, though, I mean, they're just toasters. I mean, what's important is what runs on them, which more and more isn't even an application; it's something over the web, right? But who cares what kind of toaster you have? They all make toast. I wouldn't want to be in the hardware business. I mean, if you're an HP or a Dell or a Lenovo, how do you distinguish yourself from the other guy down the road? Just on price? What kind of deal you do with Best Buy this week? That's a different deal. You could also probably say the same thing with video editing consoles and that sort of thing.
Hmm?
Well, I had a friend call me up a couple days ago. Her son is at college, and they need to buy him a PC. And she asked my advice, and I asked, well, does he play games? High-end games, and she said no. I said, does he do video editing? And she said no. I said, well, Best Buy has something for $250. Go buy that one. It's good enough.
Hmm.
And that's really it. I mean, you got 4 gigabytes of RAM, you get 500 gigabyte hard drive, you get a 15-inch screen. For looking at Facebook and Twitter and sending email and watching Netflix, boy, that does the job. It's hard to recommend, a something that costs $800, unless you're looking, you got to have, a nice form factor or whatnot. But really, is an $800 computer, 3 times as good as one of those cheapies out there? Will it be 3 times as fast? Will it do 3 times as much stuff? And for most people, the answer is no. Which is kind of interesting these days. I mean, I was always the guy who bought the high. I bought, a couple of Vaio PCs back in the day, and built some of my own back in the '80s. And I don't know why I do it these days. The cheap one kind of does the job.
Yeah, no, it does. Um, so yeah, so no, so again, I'm sorry, I'm just I'm getting sidetracked here with something else. So
Just your show, Craig. Don't worry about it.
yeah, no.
Well,
No.
if you're a senior, buy the book, and you have a Samsung. Most certainly, I mean, we've got lots of good stuff
Right.
in the book, and it actually surprised me. This is the first book I've written about a phone. It was much more work than I thought it would be because phones can do so much stuff. I mean, this book on the phone is twice as big almost as the Chromebook book. And I left stuff out. I actually wrote about 200 pages more than what we put in a what is it, a 600-page book here? Yeah, about a 600-page book. I wrote an extra 200 pages that we had to cut for page count reasons. So if you buy the book, you get a little code and you can download the other chapters, read them online that I wrote that we didn't have space for. So I mean, it did, as I wrote it, it just amazed me just how much stuff we can do with our phone these days. It's I mean, more than you can do with some computers, because computers don't make phone calls.
No, they don't.
My stepdaughter's boyfriend carries around, um, I guess you would call it a phablet. It looks about the size of an iPad mini to me, but it's his phone. And my question is, well, where the hell do you put that thing? He goes, well, I put it in my pocket. And I go, you got bigger pockets than I do, dude, because I couldn't fit that in there. I'm waiting for cargo pants to come back. That'll just take care of everything. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's if we carry multiple devices. Now, I did have an editor ask me a question this week. She says, what do you think of smartwatches in that market? And got me going on that. And you still have your Apple Watch there, Craig?
No, I never got the Apple Watch. And yes, we got to play with it a little bit and everything, but I don't. Again, it's one of the reasons why I don't have an iPad to this day, because it doesn't really. I mean, it would be fun, but I realize what would happen eventually would wind up in a drawer because I wouldn't really use it. It doesn't fit into my computing lifestyle, so it really isn't something for me. And the Apple Watch, what? Well, 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 evidently that's the case because I remember you saying with your, you had the jitterbug, and before that you just had a standard phone. And I said, why don't you get an iPhone or a smartphone? And you went, no, I don't need it. All I do is make. Remember, you said you didn't need a smartphone. Well,
When you pull out your flip phone and they all of a sudden say, "Oh, I'm busy tonight, Ben." Sorry.
but you came around, so you eventually, and now you can't part. Yeah,
I don't know, the smartwatch, the market to me. I mean, I can see it replacing some of the fitness band stuff. To me, that makes sense. But in terms of replacing the phone, or in addition to the phone, I mean, the phone replaced the watch many, many years ago. I mean, how many people wear watches these days? You ask somebody what time it is, they whip out their smartphone, and to then add another device back into the arsenal, which frankly has a fairly small display.
hey,
And the trends, as we can see with the Samsung Galaxy S, 5.1 inch screen, the trends in smartphones have been bigger screens, not
Mike,
smaller ones. So
Mike,
unless you want to carry a 5-inch watch on your wrist, I
Mike,
just don't see it going. I know
Mike.
Craig wears a
Yeah.
watch, but Craig was born in the 1800s. Um, Still pumps the water from the well every morning. We know that.
well, uh, but I mean, I know. Ben
Well, at least he
suggested
got rid
that
of
to
the
me.
holster. Okay, at
Ben
least he got rid
told
of the
me that.
holster.
I wore the holster, the phone clip, and Ben said, "Put it in your shirt pocket." So and then I finally put it in there. Yeah, but then it would be like Bengate. Then my phone will all be bent out of shape, and all the change they keep in there would scratch the screen. So at least if I put it in my shirt pocket, nothing hits it, so it stays fine that way.
Okay, I got a beef about cases and protectors. You
Uh-huh.
buy this beautifully designed phone. You buy this Samsung Galaxy Edge SX Edge, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that I wrote the book about. It's a gorgeous piece of machinery. It's a gorgeous phone. The iPhone 6, a gorgeous thing. So what do? We buy a $50 case to surround it and hide it and make it much bigger and bulkier than it was before.
Exactly. That's what I said. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's it. Yep. That's true.
I mean, really, you go, oh, look how thin it is. Now let's put a big bulky case around it. I
Right.
mean, really, if you want to admire it for its aesthetics, you got to leave it naked, man. Let it all hang out.
That's right.
Hey, I do want to mention one thing about this. I just got reminded of this. I hate to sidetrack the conversation, but what the heck? I'm on the radio. So the one thing I love about this S6 is the fingerprint recognition. It works. Where on older phones, the older S5, I've got an S5, and I could never get it to work. It would always, tell me that I don't exist. No, you put it on the home button down below. The home button down below. I just put my thumb on it, and it takes about 2 minutes to train it. It's got to read your fingerprint, and then here's the thing: it works. It isn't fussy. It doesn't read it half the time. It just works, and it's very. You can't get any more secure than that than a fingerprint, right?
Yeah. Well, you see, this is what happened with the iPhone too. But for a while, the Touch ID it didn't work. I mean, 2 or 3 times it just wouldn't recognize the fingerprint. Today, I mean, because it's the same phone, but they've updated the iOS or the algorithms now. I've yet to push it, and it doesn't work. I mean, I've never had it not work anymore. But when it first came out, it was horrible. It wouldn't work. So.
Well, I love the fingerprint recognition. The other thing I like on this, if you're a health guy, it comes with Samsung's health app, and if you put it's got a reader on the back. It'll take your pulse rate right off the phone just by putting your thumb or your finger up on there. And it'll track all your steps and whatnot, no extra software necessary. It's very nice in that regard.
Yeah, there's an iPhone app too. You can download it, and then it'll actually read the capillaries in your finger. It uses the camera and the light, and then you can get your heartbeat, your heart rate, and everything. And I think you can get your blood pressure that way too. So, they were not intended for that, at least, but the app has the proper algorithm, so it can actually get your blood pressure. And
well, Samsung had that at the forefront because they do sell a lot of other gear, fitness gear that links with it. So they're kind of hitting it from both ends there, and they do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have. Let me ask you, the 6S is going to be coming out in a little while. You thinking about getting something like that?
The iPhone? No, I'm sticking on the Android world. I don't want to get pulled back into the Apple ecosystem if I don't have to.
That giant sucking sound. Sony?
Sony makes phones. Sony's still around.
Yeah. The Xperia? No, I hadn't heard of it. Okay. So, Mike, we got less than about a minute. If they want to get your books, where do they go?
They could go to any local bookstore and badger them all to hell if they don't have my books in stock. And if they do have them in stock, just buy them off the shelf. Otherwise, go to millerwriter.com, MILLERWRITER.com, and everything's listed there. And you can buy print books, electronic books, no audio books, unfortunately. But other than that, I think we've got it covered.
And when you go to the bookstore, insist that you want an end cap for all of Mike's books.
Yes. Where is Michael Miller's books? I need Michael Miller's books right here.
Right there, exactly. Have a run on his books.
That's what I tell them every time I go in.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you can go to our website at computeramerica.com. We have a link to Mike's website. You can find it there. Mike, stay with us to the end. We're going to, but again, I want to thank you so much for being with us here tonight, and hopefully you'll be able to continue on with us in our new time slot. We're going to see what we can do to make that happen. Okay, and so that's next month, starting in September. Hopefully, you can be with us on the 28th, which is, and we'll see. In the meantime, coming up tomorrow night in the first, tomorrow an afternoon, actually, I should say, Activision is going to be here in the first hour. All of you know Activision, incredible gaming company. They're going to be talking about some of their games in the first hour. And then in the second hour, at 4 o'clock, we're going to have a company called Solar Window. This is a company that can treat a standard window to produce electricity. Right. Rather than solar cells, it's a coating on your regular window to produce power. So it's going to be, and if we have time, we'll do computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Again, thanks to all of you for being with us here on our last night. Yeah, it's our last night from 10 to midnight, starting tomorrow, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be here. Same time, same channel. I guess it is, but at a new time. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Sounds strange saying that. Okay, everybody, thanks again for watching. And remember, our new time, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. It starts tomorrow. We'll see you then. Take care. Good night. Good night, everybody. All right, bye-bye.